Hey folks, I'm Dennis. Thanks for watching my video. Today I'm going to show you how to put a light kit on a Hustler Raptor zero-turn lawnmower. Let's get started. So I'm going to unpack the kit. I'll leave a link below on where you can buy this kit. Got both the lights. The new front plate where the lights go. Wiring harness, hardware bag, wire tie, screws for the bulbs, light switch for the control panel, and that's it. And then it also comes with that front plate. That's for XD and something else. This one's for the X and the XL. Yeah, the XD and the XDX use this big one, and the X and the XL use this smaller one. It's whatever matches the front of your mower. And then, of course, the instructions. All right, so you're gonna need a 7/16 wrench or a socket. Turn the key off. Set the park and brake by moving the steering levers all the way out. And you want to take the negative cable off the battery. So the red is positive, the black is negative. You want to take the negative cable off. You just got it. You might have to have 2 wrenches. Sometimes you can get it with one. If the bolt turns, you're going to have 2. Be careful not to touch the positive with your wrench, because you'll blow a fuse and throw sparks and stuff. So you just take that nut off, take the wire off, and then I usually put the bolt and the nut back in there, and then just make sure that can't touch your positive. That'll be fine. Then we're going to go around to the front and take the front cover off. Now, depending on which model you have, it may vary a little bit by where your bolts are. I don't know anything really about the XD or the XDX, but I think based on this cover, I think the bolts are back here on it. But on the X and the XL, they're right here. So you can kind of work that out as you work on your own. Figure it out on your own with your model. Just take those bolts out and set them. Well, I'd set them on the ground because we've got to take that floor plate out too. And I'm just going to take a rag and wipe all that crud off. So next we're going to put the lights in the front cover, the bulbs. You're going to need the 4 screws that came in the hardware pack, and you're going to need a T20 Torx driver or bit. I stuck these screws in there already. There's a protective plastic film on the outside of these lights. You can peel that off or leave it on until you're done if you want. Take your plug and thread that through the hole in the wire, and then lights just line up like that. Then you just take your screws. The cover is threaded, so the screws thread into the cover. You want to get these screws snug, but you don't want to crank down on them because this light casing is plastic, and if you crank down on them too hard, they're going to crack. So basically, you just want to make sure it's snug. Just like so, and then do the same thing with the other side. Next, we're just going to take the new front cover with the lights and attach it where the old front cover was, using the 2 bolts that came out of the original front cover. Square it up, make sure it's lined up, and then tighten it up. You can go ahead and tighten this up. Then we're going to take the floor pan out. It's got a 7/16 bolt right here. You just loosen that up, and then the whole pan lifts out. Use that, you can pop it up, and then the whole thing lifts out. Make sure you don't lose the washer. Just lift it up like so and slide it out. They only give you one wire tie, at least in my kit. So you're gonna need some more wire ties. The one they include is an 8-inch black tie. I just happen to have some other 8-inch black ties, so I've got several. Take your wiring harness. That's your control panel the one with the 2 wires and the connector. And that's your light end with the 2 gray connectors. Alright, so you take the end of your wiring harness that goes to the lights, which is the gray end. This is the panel that holds the rods from the front of the deck. You want to take your the light plug and go behind that panel over this rod on both sides. Then take your wiring harness, come in over this rod and behind the panel, just like this, the other side light is, the right side light, and then plug the lights in. It doesn't matter which plug goes into which socket. Make sure it snaps all the way in and can't pull out. And they're a little tight because there's a water seal on these plugs. That's what that orange part is. And you just line up the release and the catch. Like I said, it's a little tight to push in there. Push it in until it clicks, and then you're good to go. I don't know if I can show it to you or not. There's a hole right up here on the back of this plate, this panel. And we're going to use that on both sides to put a wire tie through and tie up this harness. And we'll see if I can get my camera balanced enough to show you. So now on all these wire ties, I'm going to show you how to put them in, but then come back later once you put these in and cinch them up, come back later and just cut the tails off. It'll make for a cleaner installation. So I'm just going to thread that wire tie through this hole like that. Get this wire in there. I don't know if you can see that from my hand, but so I got the wire inside the wire tie. And then thread that up like so. And this one you can go ahead and tighten up because you're really not going to have any adjustment to do with him. And you're not trying to like squeeze the life out of the wire, because then you're just going to create a pinch point. You're just trying to keep it in place. So it doesn't have to be super duper tight. Just tight enough to keep it from flopping around and getting caught on somewhere. So then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So I had to move inside so the lighting changed a little bit because it started raining. And I jacked the mower up. You don't need to jack it up to do this. I just jacked it up so it's easier to see. So this is the rod that goes across the mower for the deck lift. And then there's a bushing that it goes through that holds it in place. And there's 2 holes here in front, and there's 2 holes behind it. Those are going to be the best places to run your wire tie. Just thread it through one and then back down through the other, like so. You can, hopefully you can see that. Okay. Yep, so just like that. Make sure you got your wire harness through there. Buckle that up. Just get it close to tight. Don't tighten it up though, because we may have to pull some slack out of that harness. And then do the same thing on the back side of this lifting rod. there's another set of holes right there. Thread that through, get your harness in there. And then what you want to do, this will be more important when we come back to tighten it up, but you want to make sure this harness is covered with a protective cover, but you're still going to want to make sure you leave a little bit of a loop in there so that you don't rub a spot through that harness, you know. And then we'll clip these off later as we go the tails of the wire ties. There's right back here on the plate where that the deck plate sits on, right in front of the seat, and in front of the back lift bar, there's right here is a couple of holes. You're going to use those for your next wire tie. Thread it up through the bottom, back down through the top. Get your wiring harness in there, thread that up. And again, you don't want to tighten this up completely because we're going to probably have to move this harness around a touch. Just get it kind of snug. And then there's a hole right behind there, right in front of this rear lifter bar that the harness is going to go up into. The plugs in that to make it up to the control panel. Next, we got to take the control panel off. You need a T25 Torx bit for these. And they got a washer on them, so don't lose your washer. And it just lifts out like that. It's got a tab back here in the back that fits in under the cowling, so you can just lift the whole thing out. And there's a wire tie down there holding the harness in. So, and it'll be all nasty because it's got, you know, grass clippings and all that junk in it. I'm going to go back under and feed that harness up through the hole that I showed you a minute ago and then into this cavity. You want to make sure you get the plug and the two wires up through that hole. Then you can reach down through here and it'll go under the frame and then up into this cavity. Inside of here, there's a couple points right there and right there where you can tie off a wire tie to. So I would tie that off down here to this point just to hold that harness up. You get this control panel out here and you can see right here there's a cutout for the light switch. So what you're going to do is just take an X-Acto knife or a sharp knife, whatever, and cut that out so that you can put your light switch in there. I'm just going to take my knife and I'm going to hold this top cover down while I don't stab myself, and I'm going to, you see my knife come through there, I'm just going to follow this outline with my knife, and I can trim it off if I need to, but I'm holding that top cover down so I don't peel it up, you know. Like that. So I have to look at this switch. I don't know if it has to be real pretty or not. I might have to clean that up. So then once you've got that trimmed off, that could have been a little bit neater, I guess, but your switch is like so. So they tell you to put it where the on is facing outward to the outside of the panel. So, and it just has a couple clips on each end. It just slides in that slot, and it's apparently pretty tight fit. Once you get it going, then it just pops in, and then you want to make sure on the back side that your catches are engaged. You don't want to press too hard because you don't want to break it, but there you go. So now you got that switch. Now you got your wiring harness, right? And you got your two spade connectors. That's what connects to the back side of the switch. You just plug them on like so. Like so, and they're attached. On the existing wiring harness, you'll have this extra, and it's actually got a protective plug on it. That's where the other end of your light harness goes. So what you're going to do is gently pull this up to release that plug, and then take that plug off. That's just a protective plug to keep it from getting jacked up. And you'll notice this has also got a waterproof boot on it, just like the ones at the light bulbs. So you'll take your light harness will have one side that's got like a little nib on it, and that's the lock, the catch for this. So you'll line those up. Make sure you get that in there good until that catch is seated. And then I'm going to take this new harness, and right down here I'm gonna pull up my slack and wire tie it right in there. If you can see that, there's a couple of places here where you can tie one off to. So I'm gonna tie it off to that. Because I've got all this extra, I'm gonna go ahead and tie this new light harness off to the existing harness, just to make sure that I've got it kind of under control inside the control panel box. That'll also keep any strain off of it if we're working on it in the future. Now, at this point, you want to go through and snug up your harness as we routed it from the front. Tighten up your wire ties, and then just cut off. Take a pair of side cutters and just cut the tails off. If you don't have any side cutters, you can use scissors to cut them. They'll cut pretty easy. Just take them like so. Cut it off. You might want to test it before you go putting everything together. I'm going to put the control panel back in and reconnect the battery, and then I'll test the lights before I put the floor plate back in, but that's really all there is to do, so no big deal. Just tuck all that in nicely. Get this tab underneath the plastic. Put that down in there and get your screws started. I'm going to reattach the battery cable. Be careful not to short that against your positive terminal. You might have to have 2 wrenches to tighten this up, hold the nut and the bolt, and again, just be careful not to short across your terminals. So turn the key on, turn the switch on, lights come on, so that's good. I did notice that I put the switch in backwards. I told y'all to install it with the on outside, and I put mine in backwards. I'll pull that out real quick and turn it around. You just squeeze the releases on each side of that switch and it'll pull back out. Then I can turn around and put it back in, so no big deal. So then all I got left to do is put in the floor plate, and I'm done. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate it. Hopefully this will help you get your light kit installed. Check out some other videos on how to do things on this Hustler Raptor mower. Give me a thumbs up if you would, subscribe to my channel, and take care. God bless you.